So I wanted to share with you guys one of the pitch meetings that I had at Disney for Dream Factory. It was interesting what all happened out on that. But what was really interesting about the beginning of it was I didn't go into Disney to pitch Dream Factory. I actually went in to pitch another show of ours called Luke and Reese Save the World. Now, this whole thing started in, looking at my notes here, April of 2012. So I had a meeting in Burbank with a Disney exec, guy that I've known for a number of years, and went in with our Luke and Reese, which is a younger show, not super young, but really more for 8 to 12, but really wouldn't play older than that. And that's about but it's a very young-looking show, but really great humor for the 8 to 12-year-olds. So I pitched it to him and showed him an animatic that we had, and he felt that it might be a little young for the network, what they were looking for, although they might have one spot, but he wasn't certain. So I asked him, I said, all right, well, so what are you guys looking for? I always ask that in a pitch meeting. And he said, well, really, the perfect thing for us right now for the Disney Channel is a show with a 12 or 13-year-old antagonist who becomes like the chosen one in some big area field, whatever. And I looked and I said, I can't believe it. I said, I actually have the perfect show that matches that exactly. And I had it with me because I always carry multiple projects in my bag. So I pull out Dream Factory because I never really originally thought Dream Factory would work for Disney. So I pull out Dream Factory and I pitch it to him. And he loves it. He thinks, wow, you're right. This really fits everything that we're looking for. So he had originally wanted one of his partners, a woman that he works with, to join us in the meeting so she could see and hear my pitch. But she was busy on something else. She wasn't able to make it in. So I thanked him and left my materials for him, and went back. I didn't hear anything. About a month later, I called him and I emailed him. Still didn't get a response. And about a month after that, I finally got a response from them that they were going to call me back. And looking at this, oh yeah, so within a day, the second associate who I actually hadn't met yet, this other producer, called me up and said she really wanted to meet at the end of the month. It was the end of June. We couldn't find a time to meet in person because I wasn't living out there at that point. So we made a date for the 28th to do a virtual pitch, so we could Skype back and forth, and I would do a pitch that way to her. And just again looking at my notes, her notes were that she actually loved the concept and the art and the writing, loved the humor. One concern that she had was that it was a serialized show. But I explained to her, I said, it really isn't a serialized show. It's within a universe that, there's a big arc, but it's very loose. So every episode stands on its own. You don't need to see it in order. So she thought, fine, that's great. She wanted to see a short pitch package, our pitch treatment that she could show to her direct boss, and would then set up our next meeting so I could pitch it up. And then at the end of the call, she said, are you going to ComicCon? I said, well, I've got, I have my professional pass. I can always go. I hadn't made plans. She goes, well, if you do, I'd love to introduce you around, and you can meet with some of the other execs here. And that was all I needed to hear. So I was like, yeah, I'll be there. So I hung up with her, and then I thought, wait a minute, this is Comic-Con, which is in 3 weeks. And I don't know if you guys have ever been to Comic-Con. I'm sure a lot of you have. It's almost impossible to get a room there, much less within 3 weeks. And of course, all the hotels were booked. I couldn't get in anywhere. I had a ticket because I keep my professional status up to date. So I wasn't worried about getting in. I was kind of worried about where I could stay. So some of the artist friends that I have here, I just posted out to everyone in Orlando. Is anyone going, that has a place where I could crash with them, which I've done before. And one friend of mine who I actually never met face to face, we were just Facebook friends, said that R.C. Aradio said that his cousin had a place out there where he and his brother were staying, and it would be okay. I could crash with them. So made plans. And what was really crazy about that was I never met the cousin. I hadn't met RC. They weren't there when I arrived the night before Comic-Con opened. And I thought I was at the right place. I wasn't certain. And no one was showing up. Evidently, they went out drinking that night. And I couldn't get anyone on the phone. and it's starting to get freezing cold. It's like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and I'm just sitting outside this house I think is the right one, this townhouse. So I finally just figured, well, I got to figure out how to get in. So I actually broke into the place. Didn't hurt anything, but I figured out how to get into the house, hoping to God that it was the right place, right? So I get in, I crash, and this is a funny story because it all happens to do with Disney forcing me to go there. So I fall asleep. They don't get in till like 2, and they're tiptoeing around, not wanting to wake me. I wake up at 5:30 to go, so no one else is awake when I get up. So I'm just rubbing the sleep out of my eyes. I walk into the guest bath downstairs, and as I start opening my eyes, I'm looking down at the floor, and there's blood splattered all over the floor. And I look up, the sink is filled with blood. There's blood splattered all over the mirror. And I look, and there's little ants crawling around in it. And my initial thought is, holy shit, I walked in on a murder scene. And I start literally freaking out. I haven't seen anyone in this house. I don't know whose place I'm in, right? And there's blood everywhere. And then I start to remember, as the fog of my being asleep starts going away from the adrenaline rush, that, oh, that's right. They did tell me that their cousin is Wolverine at ComicCon. He dresses up and then he sprays blood all over himself. And I looked around, I realized, oh, it's sugar ants, so it's fake blood. And I finally started calming down. So we finally meet up like 5 hours later at Comic-Con. I'm telling my buddies this, and they are cracking up because I had totally freaked out. So anyway, so that night, I go to the Disney meeting. That Disney had a private party at one of the hotels in one of the bars that they had bought out. So I go over there and I meet up with some of the executives. And while it was great to get introduced around, kind of a waste because you can't really talk to anyone. A lot of the people were drinking heavily. They weren't going to remember me from Adam. I don't drink, so that didn't do me any good at all. And it was so loud you couldn't have a conversation. So really the only benefit was kind of face-to-face, and that I was showing them that I made the effort. I just hope they remembered. So about 2 or 3 weeks after Comic-Con, I do a follow-up with them, and they tell me, well, really, Dream Factory is not right for us. We're no longer looking for a 12-year-old hero. And I went, okay, so what are you guys looking for? I said again. So really, what we want now, and this is a quote, we want balls-to-the-wall comedy. And what's ironic is that's really closer to the description of the first show that I had pitched them. So it ended up, obviously nothing happened with Disney. And again, that's one of the hard parts about this whole thing. You get your excitement up when people show a lot of interest, and then it either fizzles away or just nothing happens. But then again, this is all part of what we have to go through. We have to keep trying, because as soon as we stop pitching, the only guarantee is that if you don't pitch, you won't sell. So I'm still out there. I'm still pushing, and I've still got some more pitch stories for you. So hang in there.